Welcome back to Unfiltered Unspoken Podcast, where we told you we're going to continue to share life experiences. We have another amazing guest, Kathy Knight, who is bound for better, and you're going to understand why she uses those words. And we're going to get right into it. Kathy, if you could come up and introduce yourself, and as y'all know, City Sid is going to kick off that first question.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for having me this evening. So, I am Kathy McKnight, the founder of Bound for Better, Advocates for Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault. I started my journey, birthed it in January of 2014 after going through a domestic violence issue myself. And I'm thankful to here tonight to be able to share some red flags and, answer whatever questions that I'm able to answer tonight.
Awesome. So let's jump right into it. As we do with all of our guests, we'd like to start at the beginning of your journey. So tell us a little bit about how you grew up, your home structure, what your family was like, and if you experienced any traumas in those years.
Okay, yes. My household was a family of three children and my mom and dad. Um, it was cold. I'll leave it just simply like that. It was a cold household. I am the black sheep of the family. At that time, I did not know what that was. I just was trying to fit in with my brother at the time. It was my brother. My sister's 8 years younger than I am. My brother's three. We don't have a close relationship. My brother and my sister does. My household was something where there was no people never said I loved you. There were never any hugs given. I was abused as a child, sexually abused, and at the age of 9, and I carried that all the way up. It stopped at the age of 12. I mentioned it to my parents, and then no one believed me, but at that time just thought I was crazy and admitted me into the hospital. That just brought on more rage. Um, and, after leaving that place, I think I was just in that facility probably like for 2 days, just to guess calm me down. Which, in all actuality, there was nothing wrong. It was just that I came out with what I had to say, far as the abuse. Um, my siblings, they never try to count me with anything. My mom always treated me differently, and to this day, she still do. She didn't even show up for my high school graduation. So, and my dad, their love is bittersweet. It's like I said, there was no hugging, no I love you. Just straight to the point, go to school. This is what it is. No family vacations, none of that. We did have like family gatherings where people will come over, family members sometime, but myself at that time, those are times that I can remember when I would sit alone and just think of the abuse that I was enduring at that time. And, family members would ask, the parents, why am I always so quiet? And their answer was, well, she's always like that. Not knowing why. Yes, I am an introvert. But over the years, I pushed my way through it. I pushed my way through it and was happy to go to school when it was time to go to school. Um, yeah, my childhood wasn't one that I would relive.
And that's the purpose of the podcast, is sharing and to help someone else, because there's a lot of people that go through similar situations and they don't know how to cope with those situations. So your testimony, by the grace of God, is going to be able to help someone else. I want to jump into the next question. I want to ask is, why did and a lot of people ask, why did you feel as though you were the black sheep as a child?
Because I didn't, my mom would always take the aggression out on me, and I remember the times when I did so well in school, you know. I wasn't like looking for a pat on the back, but as her child, acknowledge me. At least say that's a good job. But as I can, and still growing up, as time went on with high school and all that, I can remember seeing how she would treat me amongst my brother and my sister. They can get away with anything, curse around or do whatever. um they didn't graduate high school. They did things together as far as things illegal. I remember saying to her, maybe if I was a felon or I've done something illegal, then maybe you would love me more. I didn't get an answer, but I did say to her, you should have just aborted me. And she's like, why is that? If well, you have stuff to do, you have so much to live for. I'm like, well, what do you know what my purpose is? She never answered me because she doesn't know. Um, I noticed over the times, once I started doing things, graduated high school, getting out on my own, going to college, I had my own family and everything. I started seeing the jealousy from my mom. She never um, supported me, not that I was looking for, but just being that grandmother to my kids. And today, to this day, my kids feel the same way, and it hurts me because they don't have her in their life. Um, she, every recognition that I got, was it like the Lifetime Achievement Award or anything like that? My mom, she doesn't call me. We don't talk. She's right in Alexandria. We can go years without talking. Last time I heard and talked to my mom was Mother's Day of last year. And that was by a chance because my oldest daughter was having something in the park for Mother's Day. And my mom lived in the same area. And unbeknownst to me, she was walking, going for a walk with her friend. And my daughter looked at me and looked back. And she said, Mommy, I promise you I did not plan this. And I saw my mom, and my heart I just started the anxiety attack. Because when I get a hug from her, it's like it's numb, it's fake. I'd hug her real quick and, back away. I've learned to protect myself so much because when I try to have a conversation with her, she'll shut me down. There's nothing wrong. We don't need to talk about anything. Everything is fine. I need to express to you my feelings, why I feel about why I feel this way, because you never acknowledged my feelings. You never even came to my graduation. You never done anything to me. I don't even get invited to holidays like right now. So it took a while, Demetria, just to learn that, and I started to see, and then I'm hearing people say, "Well, maybe your mom's jealous." I said, "Why is that when I'm her child? Maybe it's some of the things that she didn't get to do." And I'm saying to myself, "But that's not my problem. I didn't ask to be here once again." So I'm the oldest, and she had me at, I want to say 16, 17. I didn't ask for you to stop your life or whatever. Um, so I don't get that love from her. Mother's Day would come. It's just I've learned to just move forward and, accept if there is something happens tragically, how will I deal with that? So, here I am, and it's still that way today, but I learned to get through it.
So, we kind of see in that explanation how, what actions she's taken to like other you, or what actions your family have taken to other you. Um, Outside of being, probably the first child of a young mother, just the natural resentment that, may transpire there. What do you think differ between you and your siblings? Because, their births still are kind of tying her down, and, she's going through the same motion that she had when she had her first child. So what do you think was the difference between, your siblings and you, and why you guys are treated so differently?
I would say, again, my youngest sister, she's one. I remember the times where family, when we would sit down and we're eating dinner, we did do that. My sister was always one where when she would speak, she wanted everybody to listen. We all basically had to stop because she's the youngest and sit there and listen, and the stories went on forever. But and move from that point on, I started realize, okay, she want to make sure she's heard. And if she's not heard, then she's going to be very disrespectful to the person that's not paying her any attention. My mom will give her that attention by her being the youngest. My mom was going through stuff as far as with her job after my parents divorced, and my sister was always one that take care of her, do things to take care of her, and then she would complain about it. I'm taking care of mama. I said, you chose to do that, not me. Oh, my brother, he refused. He's not going to do anyway. He just not a person to take care of his own kids. So so I noticed how she just holds on to my sister. My sister can't do any wrong. My sister can curse in front of like a sailor. She just smokes. She just do the most. So I couldn't understand it. And then when I started seeing them doing things together, crazy, um, after school and everything, like stealing, riding stolen mopeds, crazy things. It wasn't as that's not an issue. But again, there was no discipline, nothing. When I got pregnant, I was called every bitch in the book. Mind you, I have already graduated and I'm out, but I still was called that name and told not to come back. Um, so I started seeing, like, it was everything it hasn't changed. It just got worse from being a kid on to then. So once I got pregnant, I had my daughter, and we moved to Maryland, and then we were able to just go ahead and still provide and take care of. My mom saw that I didn't need her. I did not need her. I just wanted to be able to sit and talk to her and get some advice or whatever, something she would never do. Um, until our twins came along, and then she probably was there for a few minutes just because they were twins. They're twins. But again, all three of my girls have a non-relationship with her now, and it hurts me because they're like that. My oldest daughter, by her being the first one, I used to see the relationship my mom had with her because that's her first grandchild. So she and my sister's son, he's the world to my mom. My kids, they started seeing that. My brother has, I think, is 8 or 9 children, and each one of them, there's no connection, but she still has contact and communicate with them. Now that I see when they have started doing well, everyone's graduated from college, everyone bought their home. I have one that's in the Navy, her twin is a border, she has her own business. My oldest, she's a therapist. So my brother said to me, y'all think y'all better than us. So these are the things they sit over there and they talk about in my mom's house. Um, and so to hear my kids say, just to hell with it, I don't want a relationship with them, mom, and you need to leave them alone. That hurt me. But I know for my own sake, I have to, because it'll never change. She's going to always pick and choose who she wants to conversate with, have a relationship with, who she's going to favor more. When I thought it was my daughter at first, I didn't want her to favor, but again, she's the first one. And now it's hurting her because she see how my mom is. And my mom didn't even show up to her vow renewal. It's just messy. So I've learned I said, so it's me. It has to be me. It has to be me. I know I started, like I said, at a younger age, wanting different from myself. I don't know the background as far as how my parents were raised, who was abused. I know my grandmother, my mom's mom, she was a strong woman and she didn't tolerate any nonsense. I don't know in the detail about that. If my mom, anything happened to her mentally wise or anything, she just won't share anything with me. But she see that I'm not holding on to that. I'm doing that's bound for better. I'm moving forward with everything that I have.
Hmm. And I want to go back because I'm running into a lot of youth, a lot of men, and a lot of women that have been through sexual abuse at a young age. And it just seems like, see it if I'm lying, probably out of our guests, probably 3 out of 5 have been through some form of sexual abuse. It may be higher than that. And this is the God's honest truth as a child. First I want to ask, was it a family member that sexually abused you? And how did they rear you in to abuse you?
Okay, and you remember before we had this conversation, this was one of the things that kept suppressed. I still go to therapy for this reason. This is something I had suppressed so long. Um, the person that sexually abused me, Demetria, was my dad. Um, yeah. So it was a lot. I was in disbelief. I was so alone. Again, that's when all the abandonment came. No one knew. No one knew. Until I came out later, because the years I had it suppressed for so long. And then I finally came out. I just held on to a lot of anger, a lot of anger. And I didn't understand why. I felt like I should have been, she should have been picking up something from me or him. But I don't know if she did again, or she just ignoring it. But let me tell you I don't know if this is the crazy thing. But my therapist said to me a couple of weeks ago, she said, Kathy, your mom might be looking at you as the other woman. I said, please don't say that. Please do not tell me that. I don't want to hear that. That just messed my whole week up. I'm nobody's other woman, let alone that situation. This is something that I told her. I said, I told her, you're the only one that made me dig down so deep inside to basically to be able to say who this person was, and to be able to share where I'm hearing more people come out about situations that they've been in, and thankful to hear this. It just took me a while to meet you, because I'm looking like this is not normal. This doesn't even make sense, but it wasn't my fault. But we hold on to that because it's taboo, and then it's black family. You be quiet, you don't say anything. All of that. I'm like, to hell with that anymore, because I cannot, and I refuse to continue to just walk around and no one knows. Here I am, 58, 7 years old, and I'm just now coming out saying that who the person was from 9 years old. This is because it's been bottled up for so long. Again, looking at saying embarrassed, how are people gonna look at me? I feel so dirty. I will find myself still constantly just trying to scrub myself. Um, just that mental. But I was telling her today, I gave her one of my book that of poetry that I wrote, because this lady has helped me go so deep into that thing. I told her, I said, I don't want to talk about that. She said, Kathy, today is a day to start to tell me what happened. How did that happen? Um, and I fought tooth and nail with her, but I was able to say it. And then Lisa had her event, and it just popped out. I'm like, how did that just pop out? But it popped out who it was. And Renee, all of them, they just jumped up and gave me a hug, but it's just something, and that I did not get when I came out with it. My brother said something along the fact that he was going to do something to my dad. But my brother doesn't even care for me. So my mom, again, there's nothing wrong. We're good. That's her mentality. So I had to I'm dealing with that. We're good. There's nothing wrong. But lady, I'm trying to tell you something is wrong with me. Um, so it was really no one that I can sit down and talk to about it. That's why I kept going back and forth to therapy. I was angry a lot. Very overprotective of my children and my grands. And I still to this day just don't understand why. But I asked God, what was my purpose? Why am I here? What was my purpose? And I had to go through the domestic violence piece and all of that. And every time I hear Joyce Meyer, I'm like, that lady sounds just like me. But she was coming out saying hers more often. I'm like, she's not even afraid. People just don't know. So Um, and the more and more I kept hearing her talk about it, and what happened to her and everything, I'm like, that sounds just like me. And now I'm at the point where, okay, it wasn't my fault. I didn't ask for that. I'm no longer going to make him feel as though he can walk around like it's okay, like everything's good. I mean, he was a city person when we lived in Alexandria, council, whatever that was. He was one of those people, but um my household was I was 9 years old. I'm trying to figure out how can I get out of there and take care of myself, knowing I couldn't even get a job, but I knew. I started working at 13. I started a paper route. I said, I have to do something. So I said, I'm going to start and continue because I'm gonna be out of this house one day, and it happened, but my childhood I don't want to relive. My mom still, it is what it is with her. She know, my siblings know. Um, they have not talked to me about it. Only thing like I said, I think I'm better than because I want better for myself. I wanted better for myself. I knew what I went through. And I chose not to be stuck in that. I wasn't going to let drugs or alcohol, anything take me down like that. I just held on to that anger. I didn't care how I responded to people when they asked me a question. They can ask me a question, I probably didn't hear them. They ask again. I say, stop asking me stupid questions. So I didn't care what I said and how I said it. Um, yeah, so it's I'm getting better at it, but um I do thank you for asking me. I was not expecting you to ask me that question tonight.
Remember, I
But
told you anything can.
yeah, and it's okay because
Mhm,
with discernment, I listen to God a lot. Once you asked
mhm.
me that, my heart got heavy. But I heard him say, it's okay.
It
It's
is because
okay.
you're gonna help.
Yeah,
Believe it or not, you're gonna help somebody else because it's sorry, y'all. My dog barking in the
that's
back.
okay.
Um, it's so many little girls struggling like you. I'm a little girl that went struggled just like you. So God put us here so our testimonies can help someone else.
Yeah.
And the more that you do this, the more that you talk about this, the more God is going to lift weight off of you. I
Hmm.
promise you. Promise you.
Okay.
Um, we shield folks because they're family.
Yeah.
Um, and at the end of the day, your dad got to go on, work for the county, be a beacon, a citizen in front of people,
Hmm.
but he was molesting his daughter
Right.
from 9 to 12 years old. And you have
Hmm.
every right to talk about that, and you don't have to shield and protect him.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It's still really hard for me to fathom how that dynamic, of you being the black sheep was, placed on you so early. Like it's not even something that you had the time to grow into or to prove yourself to be. It was like it was laid on you.
Hmm.
By chance, do you think that there was any confusion of paternity, like how you feel like he maybe was able to do that to you, or why they had such an aversion to you? Like, are we sure that was your biological father, or like, any chance, like, what I don't even know how that seed was planted. That's, really the biggest issue in my brain. Like, how did you come into this world with, a chip on your shoulder already?
Right. And that's something that the answer to that, I don't know because I've tried to get that from my mom. But yes, he is my dad. And he tried to tell me before he said something along the lines because when I approached him with it years later, I approached him, I wrote a letter and I gave it to him in church. He read the letter and he apologized. And I said to him, I said, that's all I needed. And I walked away. And he he shared with me that it happened to him. I'm almost, and I told him, I said, I'm so tired of people using that hurt people, hurt people. That may be true, but you don't want to see somebody, not let alone your child, to go through that same thing that you went through. Did you get help? I didn't even ask who did it, because at that point I didn't even care, because he did it to me. And I don't, as far as my mom, there was never any love in that household. Like I said, I don't know if grandma gave any love, or my mom's father died when she was 2. She's the oldest girl out of 9 kids. But her dad died when she was 2 weeks to be born. So, I don't know if grandma shared love, I love you, hugs, any of that. So I didn't know. I did not not how to receive anything different. If I was to, I probably would have been shocked. But she's just been that way. She was, I don't know, I will remember seeing them argue sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. And then when they argue, that's when her attitude, she get mad at everybody. Okay, well, you chose that, so I don't know what your bills or whatever. But you know, the household, like I said, has just never been with love, support, any of that. So like I said, if my siblings, they can sit down with her. All she has to do is call my youngest daughter, my youngest sister rather. Like I said, because when my sister's husband was alive, he would help her take care, do things for my mom. My sister was just she's doing some illegal stuff. So therefore she was able to get some money. He was able to get some money when he was alive. Yes, to take care of her. I said, y'all chose to do that, not me. So don't call me complaining that you're taking care of your mother. Um, I have a mortgage, so you chose that. I told her, if she need any help, I'm here. If she want to talk, I'm here. She know who to call, and she did what she did. So she calls her. So and that's the type of relationship they have. She can she was living with her, I want to say probably a couple of months ago. My sister was living with my mom. I don't know if she still does, again, because I don't have that, conversations with them. Um because my sister, I guess, was going through something. I found that out from a family member, but I don't get involved with it anymore. I'm learning to just keep myself protected, and my feelings protected, my
Mhm.
boundaries, because I know what I've never received. When she didn't show up to my high school graduation, I don't even know why, but I knew then. It was like, I guess I was doing accomplishment for myself. But again, I don't know. She didn't graduate, so maybe it was something she didn't get to do. So the jealousy or envy is probably started then.
Mhm. Um, I want to add, God, there's so many questions I want to ask you. I'm not even going to lie. You never know what the person next to you has been through, and that's something I will always say.
Right.
Um, Going through the abuse, did your behavior change in schools? In the school, like, did anyone notice any signs, any difference within you?
Um, no, actually, I was so glad to go to school. I was so glad to go to school. To be around the kids, joking, laughing. I always use that joking as a facade. Um, I like to joke still to this day, just to have that laugh. And no, no one knew. But I know as we went through the day, it was almost time for school to close. I started to get depressed. Again, no one knew, but I knew how to hide it well. But it never changed. My grades, nothing's never changed. I've always been a quiet, like I said, an introvert. I'm that person still. You may not be able to tell sometimes, but I am. I don't share much. I don't want to talk too many people, or be around a lot of people. I'm not antisocial. I'm just that way. I know being that age of 9 years old, when we had family gatherings, I've always stand off. I like the rain, so I do remember just sitting in a chair looking at the rain, being by myself, family in the background. But that was my time for myself and just to think at 9 years old. And it was crazy. It was crazy. I really did not have the chance to live as a child. Um, yeah. So, nothing's changed. Nothing did change when I went to school. I just, I did enjoy going to school.
So being as though a big part of your journey and how you got to where you are now is going through a situation of domestic violence. Now, leading up to this, tell us a little bit about your with you kind of being to yourself, just the personality that you took on. What was dating like? Was this person that did these things to you, was that like the first experience that you had with someone? What kind of led you into picking him as a partner? The kind of characteristics that drew you in. Just give us a little bit of, on that.
Okay. My kid's father, he was my husband, but he wasn't the abuser. But it neither that we were high school sweethearts. So we were together since 11th grade, and he knew the situation with my mom because after we graduated and I got pregnant, I had to call him to come pick me up because, she told me not to get out of her house. So he knew the situation then with her. We were together years. We got a divorce, and all three of the kids at this point were they're 5 years apart. The twins, I want to say, were like maybe 2 or 3, in Chelsea, again, 5 years. So, that part was then I knew that I had to buckle down and hold him even tighter. Um, so after that, I did get remarried and he passed away. So, and that with that we were together 15 years for that with him. With him I was. So, but he wasn't the abuser. It was a friend of mine that I tried to help with the car, give him a ride. And, we went on a couple of dates and everything. I didn't want anything more than that, but he did. And then I ignored the red flags. I'm like, I'm not paying that any attention. Or he talked to me a certain way, I'm talking back the same way. So you put your hands on me, I'm gonna fight you too. So that was my mentality. But, as a man, he was able to overpower me. And it just went on from there. So um that was in 2012 or 13. Bound for Better, I started in 14. Yeah, it was around that time. So I said, okay, I just need you to, stop coming around. Your car is situated. You're good now. And he didn't want that. So he wanted to once I said that, he would use my kids and my grandkids. I know where they live. I'm like, okay, so how did I get myself in this situation? Um, so I had to keep him close to keep them safe, if that makes sense. So I gotta keep my eyes on him, make sure he don't even try to go for them. So there were a couple of times that, my daughter, my oldest one, would call just to check on me, see how I'm doing, and she would hear him here. And all three of them would come, the kids. And I'm saying, they were like, Mommy, why are you dealing with this? Why are you doing this? I'm saying, it's okay. It's no big deal. I'm saying to myself, I'm doing this to protect you because he's threatened to hurt my kids. So, Mommy, you need to get out of this. I said, I am. I'm going to do it. Um, he after that, I came into my home and he ran up the stairs behind me and put a knife to my throat. And of course, you want to say anything just to keep yourself out of a situation, basically keeping yourself from getting killed. So I did say to him, okay, I'll continue to help you. We can go out, we can hang out, we can do this, everything. And that kind of he started calming down and he put the knife down. So I'm like, Okay, so I gotta use some little more psych one on this person just to keep him away, but keep him close again to keep an eye out on my family, even though they don't live here with me. Um, so he would the last incident, he would hit me in the back of the head. If I would he would come over and ask to use my car. I'm like, where's your car? You know, why are you here? And I'm tired of you telling me no, and hit me right in the back of the head. So I have like a something on the back of my skull. That's why I have so many headaches. But you know, and then the last time, one time he straddled me in my spare room, one of my spare rooms in there. I went in there and he straddled me and he started choking me. And by me being so much smaller than he was, I was able to wiggle my way out. And my kids didn't know any of this was happening until after they were able to hear my story. But I wiggled my way out, and a friend of his came over. I heard him come in, and I heard him say to him, "I need you to leave out and don't say anything. Don't say that you saw anything." I'm like, I'm going to die today. And then I said, I'm not going out this way. I'm not doing this. So I wiggled my way out, and it's hard to breathe. And, I was able to get away from him. So he ran down my steps and he left. He came back. I was working at night. He came back. Unfortunately, like I said, I didn't see him when I was coming in, getting out and everything. And then he followed me up my stairs, and he hit me in the back of my head again. So I turned around. I hit him. At that point, I didn't know why. He never hit me anywhere where the wounds will be visible. And he did say that. And I'm not gonna allow you to leave this place to treat somebody nice like you treat me. No, I'm not. This is not a relationship. So I had to let him think what he wanted to think. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. You don't have to leave my house. So in the hallway, the top of the stairs, he was like, he hit me in the back of the head. I fell to my knees and I started praying. You can tell, okay, what is my purpose? What is my purpose, God? A few years before that, real quick, let me back up. I was looking in a magazine. The back magazine said it was a picture of a lady jumping from one side to the cliff, from a cliff to the next side, and it said "Bound for Better." I said, I like that. That's a nice picture. I kept that picture. That was years before this happened. So that night, when I fell on my knees and started praying, he said, if God gave a F about you, he wouldn't allow me to do this to you. I don't know what his strength came up in me because he was trying to pick me up and throw me down my stairs. I don't know what his strength came up in me. And I said, it's time for you to go. I stood up and I pushed him. I said, it's time for you to get out of my house. That was in 2013, December, after Christmas. It's time for you to get out of my house, and don't come back. And I don't know, I just swung back and hit him back. And he left. I haven't seen him since, but he has tried to contact me after that. And this is the worst case scenario that he tried to use to tell me something that his daughter was sexually abused. Can I talk to her? I said, don't you ever contact me ever again. I don't care anything about that. If she has been, you need to take her to get counseling. We're not doing this, and this is not a ploy. I'm not falling for anything. Um, he tried to befriend me on social media and I blocked him. And that's just something I'm not afraid. I would always watch my surroundings and just going to church. I remember one day he called me. He said, I saw what you had on. It was really nice. I like that red dress. I said, I don't have on a dress today. So again, stop calling my phone. Um, I was going through that by myself. And the only thing when my mom found out, she did come to like one event that I hosted, Bound for Better. And she said, I'm glad I didn't have to go through anything like that. I wouldn't go through anything like that. I said, now is not the time for that. It's not the time. And it's not even about you. And why would you say that when there are other survivors sitting in this room? So again, things like that, she never know what to say and she don't know how to say it. that's something I went through by myself. Even if I have a brother, I do have a brother. Only thing he was able to offer me. That's why that N word over there beating your ass. I left it at that. So this gave me the tenacity to just keep moving forward. And I started Bound for Better. This is why I fight. I've had 3 friends die from it through gun violence, domestic violence, but I just refuse to do it. I refuse to go out. That last incident when he tried, because I prayed to God before, please keep this man away from me, please. And it did never happen. But that night I heard God say, it's time. It's time. So I was able to start, and I just started rolling. I started therapy at that point. He said, why don't you just focus on your healing versus starting an organization? I said, this is my healing. Don't tell me how to heal, please don't. So I never went back to see him. So I just kept procrastinating, stopping the healing, because I know how it felt to not have that support or anyone to talk to. So I started it and I kept going. So now here I am now going to it, because I'm more so the sexual abuse piece of it is at the forefront. And I kept hearing him say, it's time to talk about that. And I kept suppressing. I don't want to talk about this. And I told my therapy that, and here I am. And it's like I've been saying my dad, like it's just running water. Like sometimes I'm still a little cautious because I don't want to. But if the timing's right and I feel is right, that's what it was.
Is your dad still alive?
Yes.
Do you see him?
Sometimes, because the other 2, they don't do much for him. I set boundaries. I set boundaries. And the thing is, because, and not even for him or my mom, I'm still there if they want to talk, if if I can help them. But again, there's boundaries. You're not going to just talk to me any kind of way. You're not going to feel like you're going to use me to get what that's your problem, not mine. You did what you did. I'm grown now. You're not going to talk to me any kind of way. Um, I've learned to set those boundaries. But yes, he's 70 something. But he tries the last conversation I had, he was trying to explain to me that he's going to some, I don't even know what you call it, but anyway, it's something with a sexual, the people, the predators go for sessions, group and stuff. And then he had the nerve to say that somebody wanted him to get up and talk about it. I said, that's whatever, because that's a lie to me. I feel like it's a lie. um that's something he never, all of a sudden, because I asked him, have you gone back to therapy? Have you started therapy? This was something, I just started getting my voice back. And right after with my therapy and everything, my voice, I said, I'm going to use it. And this is what it is. And, have you started? You need to go back to therapy. If you haven't, you need to go. So he says he's been, but I don't even feel he's been. But anyway, I set boundaries with him, how I feel, because I don't feel comfortable. My kids, they know, but they look, because he feel as though over the years when they were in college, like care packages or sending them money or anything like that, he felt as though he had to make up for something.
Mm,
He had to let me do right by them because I didn't do right by their mother.
mm,
So my kids know. And I do recall telling him, I said, if you ever thought you felt the need to lay a hand on my child, my children, my grandchildren, I'm just gonna kill you.
mm-hmm. Well, I'm gonna something your therapist said, and
Hmm.
it's gonna be a similar question, um, but reworded coming out of how
Okay.
what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Do you think that your mother knew about the abuse? That is why she probably had even more hate in her heart for you. Um, because for some reason, I feel like she, some fashion or form, knew. I could be wrong because I don't know the scenario, but I just feel like she knew.
You know that you asked, I do think she knew, but she never approached me, didn't approach him. Thankfully, I was able to see him. We had a babysitter. The babysitter came over one morning and I saw them kiss. I said, I'm gonna get this man out this house. So I told her, I said I saw him kiss the babysitter, and that started the divorce process. So I was glad of that. But I think she knew, and she just didn't know how to talk about it. And I'm gonna tell you why I think I knew too, especially after finding out Monday, this past Monday. My mom's youngest sister, she's 6 years older than I am. We have a close relationship, and she lost two of her kids, and neither one of my aunt's sisters, including my mom, showed up for her kids' funeral. That's the type of stuff I'm talking about. But um my aunt said to me, and I told her, I said, I'm sorry, I was just in a dark place because it all happened in the fall. So when the fall gets here, I shut down real bad, and my therapist said I need to start changing that. So I told her that's the reason why I didn't call. 'Cause she lives in West Virginia, and I'm, first day of spring, I felt it. I felt so much better, and I reached out to her. So she called me back Monday, and I told her that's what was going on. She said, "What abuse you talking about?" And it took me forever to even want to tell somebody in my family, not thinking that they knew. And then when she said to me, Demetria, you talking about abuse from your dad? Girl, when I kid you not, my heart started hurting. It started beating fast. I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Are you talking abuse from your dad?" I said, "Yes." And then she said he did it to her too. Girl, when
Hold,
I
hold,
tell
hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on,
you,
hold on, hold on. So,
you heard
hold
you
on.
heard
So
me.
your dad molested your aunt too?
You heard me. Yes.
And did your aunt say that your mother knew about it?
She said she thinks she knew, but she didn't say anything to her. I apologized to my aunt. She said, "No, I apologize to you." So she said to me,
Right.
I know, girl, it's been heavy as hell. You hear me? So my therapist like, "Kathy, this is what needs to come out because don't too many families talk about this." And my aunt said to me this past Monday when we were talking, she said, "That's probably why your mom and your siblings don't talk to you because you came out with it." People saying things to me now just making me think. But my mom she never wanted a relationship. She never, the relationship between her and I was null and void anyway. And my sister, she can cuss, and once she start drinking, cuss you out and just whatever, and everybody think that's cute. My brother here do what he do, but it's just, I can't be bothered. But when she said that, she said, "Yeah, it happened to me too." I said, "Lord have mercy." I
Do
could
you think
not
he
believe.
did it to your siblings too?
I don't think he probably did it. I don't think he did it. My sister would have said something. But I don't think he did. So how the hell? Well, I'm thinking like, why was I the one chosen? Why was I the one? And I still cannot get an answer. So I've gave up on asking that question. And I listen to my kids more. Like I said, my daughter, she's a therapist. She can't be my therapist because of the relationship, but she'll give me some things to just basically say, "Mom, just move forward, you have us here." And I have my grandkids. So but yeah, that helps me to get through the day because I have my days. Some days I wish, hey, I would like to call my mom and talk to her, especially since my daughter been overseas. But her ship, she's in the Navy. She should be back, hopefully in prayer for this week. She's been out there. She's been away for 6 months, and the last thing we knew, she was in Israel. So she should be back this week. Things like that, I wanted to be able to call her and talk to her. I don't even have that relationship. I can't do it. So I didn't want to put that on my other two, especially her twin, because she was feeling the same thing because that's her twin sister that's out there. So it's like, okay, let me just deal with this, get through it. She'll be home. I would email her. She would respond sometimes. If I text her, she'll respond real quick. the twin overseas, but she'll have to turn her phone off so that there's no retraction. So we didn't know what was going on. I'm starting to feel a little better because this week I'm hearing she's supposed to be back. So versus the other two times that they canceled. I can't even talk to her sensibly. Her, and I don't want to sit and talk to my dad about it or my sister about how I feel. So yeah, I mean, I talked to my aunt. She said, call me. And I'm saying, this lady saying, call her. And she just told me what happened. I'm saying, question myself, ask me all these questions now, I'm talking to myself after I talked to her Monday. I worked Monday night. I came in. I couldn't sleep. So um I'm like, I don't believe she just told me that today. And then she's gonna say to me, I mean, mind you, she lost two of her children. None of her siblings showed up. My mom being the oldest now didn't show up. Did she know about her? That's why she don't show up. So, and did she know the relationship that we've built, my aunt and I? She don't show up. I asked my mom for a baby picture, my Eastern Star. I asked her for a baby picture because we needed that. I needed that when went on our retreat. She didn't respond, any of that. So I was talking to my aunt. I said, "Do you have a baby picture of me? Because there's no baby picture. I've never seen any baby pictures of me." She said, "Well, what your mom say?" I said, "She's not responding. She's not answering me. I text her, she don't respond." So she said, "I'll call her." My mom got upset because I called my aunt and asked her, but she sent me a picture. She sent me a picture of me when I was 9 years old. There are no baby pictures, nothing. The picture that I have that's 9 years old, I'm treating her like that's my baby picture. That's when my abuse started. So it's just so funny how things just line up. Things just, I'm just starting to see a lot. But yeah, I really do think she knew. And now that she knows that I said some of my story, my mom does, everything's silent. Everything and everybody is silent.
My gosh. Well, before we need to wrap up, I do want to ask you how all of these experiences, led you into you founding Bound for Better. Where did you find the motivation for that? And, how did that all come to fruition?
Um, After going through the domestic violence piece, just to see the judicial system here in PG County, um, you got to go show all this proof that this really happened to you, document, in order just to sit in the court and it still get put out, depending on the judge, what judge and how he or she is feeling that day. It wasn't working for me. And then when I sat in the court anyway with one of my friends, and her abuser was Rayful Edmonds' hitman. So the judge put his case on the step docket. You stay away from her for a year, we'll go ahead and clear this up. And I'm like, this is not making any sense. We sat in court all day for this. So I started it. And again, when I lost my three friends from it, domestic violence, gunshot, I'm like, I have to say something. My voice, their voice, they have to be heard, It's a lot of domestic violence here in this county. And the sheriff was telling me the other day that the statistics are really high. We usually take turns, Baltimore, PG, Baltimore Beach, PG. And right now we're higher than Baltimore. Um, so it has to stop. It has to stop. It's the thing of being able to get the woman out of there. I knew that, thankfully, prayerfully, this is my house. I knew I wasn't going anywhere, so I didn't have to leave. And just to have the shelter is the main piece. So if they can't leave, if they have nowhere else to go, no family to support them and want to sit and talk to them and help them through it, they're going to stay there with the person. So thankfully I didn't have that situation, but I see that too much. And we do the counseling sessions. I do my retreats with the survivors just to have that self-care piece for them so they can know that you matter. Your voice is heard. You can do what you want to do. Speak what you want to say, say what it is you need to say now. Um whether you've been sexually abused, domestic violence. And I could tell, like I was telling everybody, Demetria, I've been all of it: sexual, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, all of it. And my aunt was telling me, she said, but you did well. She said, for me, I've turned to drugs, and I've never wondered why she was, heavy on drugs until Monday. She just told me. I understand now. So, I want to, I have to help break this cycle. People have to know that there are people out there that care, because family, if it's not helping in my household, that's not my problem. I had to deal with the same thing. That's why he over there beating on you. I mean, all of that, is just heartbreaking. But once you get through it, you're able to see, okay, I made it through. I made it through it, and you just have to keep going. You have to keep going, and just to get things better and let people know that yes, you can get out. So now that I've been through all of that and walked all those paths, I can share my story. I can be there for the next person that needs the same help that I didn't get, but I can help them the way that needs to be helped.
Hmm. I'm not going. I just want to ask you a question because we had time. Was your dad older than your mother?
Hmm? I
Was your
can't hear
dad
you.
o- was your dad older than your mother? Can you hear me?
I can
Okay.
hear you. Are
I
you able
can
to hear
I,
me?
I can hear you. I can hear now. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Was your dad older than your mother?
Okay, I can hear you. I can't hear Demetria.
Okay. Can you ask her, was her dad
She
older than
was
her mother?
asking if your dad was older than your mother, especially like significantly older than your mother.
Uh, about 2 years.
He's for
So nothing,
years.
nothing crazy.
Yeah, because I,
Mm-mm.
I was I was going to ask if maybe he forced her mother, just something to put on her, so just to think about with the therapist, and maybe that's part of the reason of her mother's anger and aggression towards her.
She was saying as something to kind of maybe have as a topic for your therapist. Just wondering if there was a significant kind of age gap between your parents, and maybe knowing that maybe he got into it with her the same way, like whether it be forceful or kind of against her will or something of that nature. So that might be a dynamic to explore.
Right. I know she was 16, he was 19, getting ready to go into the military. That she wanted that relationship, and she got pregnant with me.
Okay, it could be, yeah. So we're almost at time. I don't know if you can see it. We just want to close out and ask, from your personal life experience, what advice would you give a little girl that's struggling through sexual abuse to help them along their journey into adulthood to overcome what they have been through?
For our viewers, as the closing question, what advice would you have, for girls or adolescents that have, or were going through the same issues that you were going through? How are they able to refine themselves, rediscover themselves, get back on track, pretty much heal in a straight line versus a curve, all types of curves and hills and valleys that you had to what are some bullet points to kind of help them bring it home if this is something they've experienced.
Right. First of all, I want them to understand that it's not their fault. We tend to want to probably blame ourselves. Um, and a society will put that in your head as far as, okay, how are you dressing? How are you acting? I was doing none of that. None of that. To this day, I don't. Know that it's not your fault. Know that you matter. Know that someone understands. Share your story. There is someone out there that's willing to listen. Never feel that you're alone in situations like this, of an abuse like this, sexual abuse, even domestic violence. Never feel that you're alone. There's always someone out there, or resources, or that can assist you, help you to get on the right track. If you cannot talk to a family member, always reach out to another resource, a resource that you can confide in, that you feel comfortable with. There are school counselors that you can reach out with, and they will reach out to organizations such as myself or Demetria or anyone else that we work with. And just, know that it's not your fault. That was my biggest thing. It's not my fault, but it was just the embarrassment. And don't be embarrassed, because again, it's not your fault and you didn't do anything. um I struggled with that because that's something that it shouldn't happen. That's abnormal. I was saying all kind of things. It doesn't make sense. I'm trying to put two and two together. Why is this happening? Why did this happen? Like I said, it's not normal. You don't say anything because you don't want to break up this family, or you don't want this person to go to jail, or you don't want, you lose the relationship that you think you have with someone, another parent or whatever. But at the end of the day, it all just relates to your sanity. Your voice matters. You matter. So if we can get that out there to let them know, first and foremost, to not blame themselves, is you didn't ask for this. No one, I promise you, no one asked for anything like this. I did not ask for this. I always ask God, what was my purpose in life? This is a hell of a purpose. I will say to myself before, but looking back, I would not change it from where I am now, the voice that I have. I have my days where I hurt in silence, you know but i I don't have many anger issues like I used to. um I've learned to have boundaries, especially when it comes to dealing with the clients that we have to work with. And we have to keep that to make sure we keep our mental straight. But again, we're always available for anyone that needs any type of services to get themselves together and know that they matter. Get into counseling, speak with the therapist. Just get a start somewhere.
Can you
Absolutely.
hear me?
So she
Yeah.
still can't. She can't.
Okay.
Oh,
Um, so we do want to give you a chance to participate in shameless plug. You do see our or your information scrolling across the bottom here. If you can
okay.
let our viewers know how they can reach out if your story has resonated with them, how they can utilize their services within Bound for Better, if there's any other projects or groups that you want to advocate for, if you have anything for sale, anything that you want to draw traffic to, you have the floor.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So I do. Let me show you my cups that I do have. But you can reach me. My phone is on. Stay on, and we do temporary shelters and, like I said, counseling and everything. So Bound for Better, Bound FOR Better at yahoo.com is my email. My website is boundforbetter.net, www.boundforbetter.net. My phone is 240-601-4517. That's 240-601-4517. And all the proceeds of everything that we do always go to the support of the temporary shelters that we do, and the clothing as well. And I do have a podcast. I have mugs with your voice. That's the name of the podcast. We have mugs. Bound for Better has mugs also. I didn't sold out already, but it has my logo, is our lips on it. These are for sale here, and I have t-shirts. So, like I stated, all the proceeds go towards women and children to put them up in the hotel that we do. It's usually a 3-night stay, depending on the situation, maybe a little longer, because there may be a family member that's willing to help. Say, well, she can't come here to Friday, so we'll keep her in the hotel to like Monday to Thursday or something like that. So the hotel that I'm partnered up with is in Capitol Heights. So we do that. And um yeah, just reach out at any time, and just know, like I said, you're never alone. it's not easy, and these stories, it takes a lot out of us. I can't, I know the trauma is even worse, but you're not alone going through it. So just please, the biggest thing is just to reach out and know that there is help out there. Family won't help you as much, but at the same time, there are resources out here, such as myself and Demetria, Renee, Lisa. We're all out here to assist. We've been there. We know. I can't, say it enough. We're here.
You could probably still do your thing. She just won't be able to hear you.
Yeah, I don't know if the whole audience can hear me, so I was gonna let you close it out. I put it in chat. I put it in the private chat.
All right, because I'm like, girl, all right. So, as always, please like and share these videos on any platform you see us on: YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram. We are showing our interviews every Monday at 8 p.m. So again, check in, clock in, subscribe, like. Get everybody involved. Above all else, donate to the good fight. We do a lot of good work for the community, more so tutoring for children, and we got to support the kids above all else. So please donate to the good fight if you can. If not, like and a share will suffice. Thank you so much, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you, ladies. I'll talk to you later. All right. All right.